Ladies and gentlemen, when we reflect on love through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we are led to consider not just the fleeting pleasures of romance, but the deeper essence of connection, virtue, and wisdom. The title, In His Arms, She Found the Sky, invites us to explore what it means to find freedom, transcendence, and peace through a relationship, not in a fleeting emotional rush, but in the steady calm of mutual respect and understanding. In Stoicism, love is not viewed as an uncontrollable force that sweeps us away or makes us act irrationally. Instead, it is seen as a conscious, deliberate choice that we make, grounded in virtue, reason, and understanding. The Stoics teach that our emotional responses are not inherently good or bad. It is our judgments and attachments that shape them. This view of love as a choice places the responsibility for our emotional well-being squarely within our hands. One of the most powerful teachings of Stoicism is that we cannot control the world around us, but we can control how we respond to it. When it comes to relationships, this means recognizing that love is not a thing to possess or be possessed by. It is not about a romantic ideal that sweeps us off our feet, nor is it about meeting someone else's expectations or filling a void within ourselves. Instead, love, in its most Stoic form, is an intentional choice made by two individuals who decide to come together not out of need, but out of a mutual desire for growth, wisdom, and virtuous living. For the Stoic, the quality of love is measured by how much it fosters virtue in both individuals. In relationships, this means that love should not be about indulging in fleeting emotions or seeking temporary gratification. Instead, love should align with what is truly good for each person's character and contribute to their development as virtuous, rational beings. In this sense, love becomes a partnership, one that encourages both individuals to live more wisely and with greater purpose. This understanding of love as a conscious choice is particularly empowering. It gives us the ability to engage in relationships from a position of strength, knowing that our emotions are not a force that controls us, but a reflection of the judgments we make. When we love in this way, we are not slaves to the whims of fleeting emotions or external circumstances. Instead, we are active participants in the creation of a deeper, more meaningful bond, built on mutual respect and shared values. The Stoic approach to love also requires a level of emotional resilience. We are all aware that relationships have their ups and downs, and the feelings we experience in love can be intense and unpredictable. But the Stoic teaches us to recognize that we cannot control what others do, nor can we control the outcomes of every situation. What we can control is how we respond to the challenges and changes that arise in our relationships. This requires an inner strength, the ability to face difficult emotions without being overwhelmed by them, and to remain steady in our commitment to living virtuously, regardless of external circumstances. Love, in this sense, becomes a tool for personal growth. It is through love that we are able to practice and strengthen virtues such as patience, kindness, empathy, and forgiveness. These virtues are essential not only for the stability of relationships, but for our own development as individuals. In a Stoic relationship, each person seeks to become better not for the sake of the other person, but for the sake of their own character and the pursuit of a good life. By focusing on the internal growth of both individuals, love becomes a force that transforms, elevates, and enriches. Moreover, the Stoic perspective on love teaches us to avoid excessive attachment or dependency. While love is certainly a source of joy and connection, the Stoics urge us not to rely on another person for our happiness or sense of well-being. Happiness, according to Stoicism, comes from within, from our own virtuous actions and rational decisions. We are reminded that everything in life is temporary, including relationships, and that we should not cling too tightly to any external object, person, or situation. This perspective allows us to enjoy love fully without the fear of losing it, because we understand that true contentment comes from our ability to remain grounded in virtue, regardless of external changes. Thus, the Stoic view of love is one that encourages a deeper, more thoughtful approach to relationships. It is not about losing ourselves in another person or seeking emotional highs, but about choosing to love in a way that reflects wisdom, virtue, and inner strength. It is a love that nurtures our growth as individuals, fosters mutual respect, and remains resilient in the face of life's challenges. In this way, love becomes not just an emotional experience, but a pathway to living a more fulfilled and virtuous life. The Stoic perspective on love acknowledges the fundamental truth that nothing in life is permanent. All things, relationships included, are transient. This realization forms the bedrock of Stoic wisdom, the ability to accept the impermanence of all things with grace and equanimity. For the Stoic, accepting the fleeting nature of life is not a source of sorrow or resignation, but rather a source of strength and peace. The very impermanence of life becomes an invitation to cherish each moment without clinging to it. In the context of love, this understanding of impermanence is transformative. Love, as the Stoics teach, is not something to hold on to desperately or possessively. It is something to be fully embraced in the present moment, knowing that it may not last forever. The Stoic mindset allows one to experience love without attachment, enjoying its beauty without the fear of its eventual loss. This is not to say that love should be entered into with indifference, but that one should approach love with an understanding that it is a dynamic, evolving force that will change over time and perhaps even come to an end. In acknowledging that nothing is permanent, we can truly appreciate love for what it is in the moment without becoming enslaved by the fear of its end. This acceptance of impermanence frees us from the anxiety and attachment that often accompany love. We are not constantly worried about what might happen in the future or fixated on what we stand to lose. Instead, we can focus on the present, on the deep connection we share with another person, and on the opportunity to grow together. Each moment in love, then, becomes an opportunity to live fully, to experience joy, and to practice gratitude for the gift of love itself. Furthermore, the recognition of impermanence in love encourages us to act with wisdom and virtue, knowing that everything we do, including how we treat those we love, should be in alignment with what is truly good. In a world where all things are fleeting, the Stoic finds it essential to focus on what is eternal, that is, our character, our virtues, and the way we engage with the world. Relationships, then, are not about ownership or possession, but about mutual respect and the shared pursuit of virtue. When we love in this way, we can cherish our relationships while also accepting that they may evolve or change in ways we cannot predict. This acceptance of impermanence allows us to act with greater compassion, empathy, and understanding in our relationships, knowing that we are not clinging to an ideal or a fantasy, but appreciating the person and the connection as they are in the present. The Stoic embrace of impermanence also leads to emotional resilience. Life is filled with unexpected challenges, and the inevitable changes in relationships are no exception. However, by accepting the transience of love, we are not blindsided by its inevitable shifts. We are prepared for the possibility of loss and change, and we approach each phase of a relationship with a calm acceptance, knowing that all experiences, whether joyful or painful, contribute to our growth as individuals. This resilience does not mean we do not grieve when love is lost or transformed, but rather that we grieve with wisdom, knowing that pain is a natural part of life and that our true strength lies in how we respond to it. Moreover, the understanding of impermanence encourages us to live with greater purpose. If everything is temporary, then it becomes all the more important to live with intention and to nurture relationships that are truly meaningful. The Stoic encourages us to not waste time or energy on superficial attachments or pursuits. Instead, we are called to build relationships based on shared values, mutual respect, and a commitment to the good. In doing so, we create connections that are more likely to withstand the tests of time, or at least to bring out the best in us, regardless of how long they last. Thus, accepting the impermanence of love brings a sense of freedom. We can engage in relationships with open hearts, appreciating them for the joy they bring, while also remaining grounded in the understanding that we cannot control their outcome. This acceptance allows us to embrace the present fully, cultivating relationships that are meaningful, nurturing, and virtuous. In the end, the Stoic teaches us that the true value of love lies not in its permanence, but in how we live it with wisdom, presence, and the understanding that each moment is precious, no matter how long it lasts. In Stoic philosophy, the idea of interdependence between individuals is nuanced and complex. While Stoicism champions self-sufficiency and individual strength, it also acknowledges the deep, essential connections that exist between people. The Stoics understood that humans are social beings by nature, and relationships are a fundamental part of living a virtuous life. However, these relationships are not meant to be based on dependency or attachment, but rather on mutual respect, shared wisdom, and a pursuit of virtue that elevates both individuals. In the Stoic framework, the highest good is living in accordance with virtue, and relationships provide an opportunity to practice and nurture these virtues. True interdependence in love, as understood by Stoicism, does not mean relying on another person to fulfill your emotional needs or to complete you. Rather, it means coming together with someone who shares your values, ideals, and goals, so that both individuals can mutually support each other's growth and flourishing. It is through this interdependence that both individuals can continue to develop as wise, virtuous people, improving themselves and each other along the way. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the idea that we cannot control the actions or feelings of others, only our own. This principle applies to relationships as well. True interdependence in this sense means recognizing that while we are deeply connected to others, we cannot rely on them to provide us with happiness, security, or meaning. These things must come from within, from the cultivation of our own inner strength, wisdom, and virtue. Relationships, then, are not about fulfilling unmet needs or finding someone to complete us, but about choosing to be with another person who shares our commitment to living well and pursuing what is truly good. In relationships, the Stoics emphasized the importance of mutual respect and understanding. In love, this means that both individuals honor each other's autonomy and individuality, recognizing that the strength of a relationship lies not in possession or control, but in the ability to grow together while maintaining personal integrity. A Stoic relationship is based on the idea that two people, each working towards virtue and wisdom in their own right, come together to support and encourage one another on that shared journey. Rather than being dependent on each other for happiness, Each person in a Stoic relationship seeks to help the other cultivate their own happiness, rooted in inner peace, virtue, and self-sufficiency. This form of interdependence requires both individuals to have a clear understanding of their own purpose and values. It requires emotional maturity and the ability to appreciate the other person not as an object of desire, but as a fellow traveler on the path to a virtuous life. In this way, love becomes an act of mutual respect, not a transaction or a pursuit of selfish pleasure. It is not about taking from the other person, but about giving, encouraging, and inspiring each other to be better, to grow in wisdom, and to live more virtuously. The Stoics also recognized that the best relationships are those that are founded on shared values and goals, rather than those based solely on emotions or physical attraction. In this sense, true love is not about the intensity of the feeling, but about the alignment of two people's minds and hearts in the pursuit of what is good. When two people share common values, their relationship becomes a fertile ground for mutual support and growth. Rather than being torn apart by external circumstances, such relationships thrive because they are grounded in something deeper than fleeting emotions or external conditions. Moreover, the Stoic vision of interdependence also emphasizes the importance of cultivating a relationship with oneself. If we do not know ourselves, understand our own values, or commit to our own growth, we cannot effectively contribute to the growth of another. The Stoic teaches that we must first be whole on our own, emotionally and mentally, before we can truly enter into a relationship that fosters mutual growth. The foundation of interdependence, then, is a strong sense of self-awareness and inner peace, which enables us to offer genuine love and support to another without expecting them to fulfill our needs. In essence, Stoic love is not about merging into one another in an effort to be whole, but about coming together to enhance one another's individual journeys. The relationship becomes a partnership in which each person's autonomy and individuality are celebrated, yet both are bound by a shared commitment to live virtuously. In this way, love in Stoic philosophy is not a passive state, but an active choice, a daily effort to nurture and grow together with another person in alignment with the highest principles of wisdom, virtue, and reason. This interdependence, then, is not one of emotional or material dependence, but of mutual growth and support. It is a recognition that the strength of a relationship lies in the wisdom and virtue both individuals bring to it. When love is rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and the pursuit of what is good, it becomes a source of strength and joy, not a means of escape or fulfillment of personal desires. In this way, Stoic love helps each person become their best self, with the other as a partner in that shared journey towards virtue. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of the sky is often used as a metaphor for the expansive nature of virtue, wisdom, and freedom. The sky symbolizes boundlessness, openness, and the infinite potential of the human spirit. It is a representation of peace and clarity, a space where one can soar above the chaos of the world below, where all judgments and external influences are left behind in pursuit of the highest good. When applied to the context of love, the sky represents the freedom that is found not in attachment or dependency, but in the ability to experience love in its fullest, most elevated form. In a relationship, the sky can be seen as the metaphorical space where two individuals meet not to possess or control each other, but to encourage each other's growth and freedom. This is not a freedom defined by isolation or emotional detachment, but by a love that is rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and the pursuit of a shared higher purpose. True love, in this sense, is a love that does not bind or restrict, but rather lifts both individuals to greater heights, enabling them to become the best versions of themselves. The Stoic vision of love transcends the ordinary, transactional view of relationships, where two people come together out of need or dependency. Instead, love in the Stoic sense is about two free individuals, each pursuing their own path of virtue and wisdom, who choose to walk together. This partnership is not one where one person is dependent on the other for their happiness or emotional fulfillment. Instead, it is a union of two souls who, through their love, support each other's growth without limiting or confining each other. Just as the sky is vast and free, so too is love in this sense, a space where each person is able to stretch, to soar, to explore, and to evolve. The sky also represents the peace that comes from understanding the transience of life and relationships. In the face of the inevitability of change and loss, the Stoic encourages us to embrace the present moment with calm acceptance. The sky, in this context, can be seen as a symbol of the inner peace that arises from living in accordance with virtue. When we accept that nothing in life is permanent, we can fully appreciate the beauty of what we have without becoming overly attached or fearful of its eventual end. In love, this means appreciating each moment shared with a partner, not as something to possess or hold onto tightly, but as a precious experience in its own right. In this way, the sky embodies both freedom and tranquility, the freedom to love without expectation or fear, and the tranquility that comes from knowing that love, like all things, is subject to change. Stoics teach that peace comes from within, and when love is experienced with this kind of internal peace, it becomes a source of strength, not weakness. It allows us to be fully present in our relationships without clinging to the illusion that they are permanent or that they must meet all of our needs. The love that exists within the vastness of the sky is one that is free from possessiveness, free from the need to control or manipulate, and free from the anxiety of loss. Furthermore, the sky is a reminder of the limitless potential that exists when two individuals come together in the pursuit of virtue. Just as the sky is vast and open, so too is the potential for growth and transformation within a relationship. In the context of Stoic love, the partnership between two people is not just about mutual affection or shared experiences, but about a shared commitment to living wisely and virtuously. Together, they help each other rise above the challenges and distractions of life, constantly striving to become better versions of themselves, not for the sake of each other's approval, but for the sake of living in alignment with reason and virtue. This idea of limitless potential aligns with the Stoic belief that the highest good is not found in external things, but in the cultivation of virtue. In the sky of love, the two partners are not bound by earthly desires or fleeting emotions, but are united in the pursuit of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. The sky, then, is a place of infinite possibility, where love acts as a force that propels both individuals toward their fullest potential, enabling them to transcend the mundane and approach life with a sense of higher purpose. In conclusion, the sky, as a metaphor in Stoic love, represents a freedom that is not about escaping from the world or from the responsibilities of a relationship, but about experiencing love in its most elevated and expansive form. It is a love that lifts both individuals up, encouraging them to grow, to pursue virtue, and to live with wisdom. In this love, both individuals find not only companionship and joy, but also the boundless potential to become the best versions of themselves. The sky reminds us that love, when rooted in Stoic philosophy, is not a force that binds or limits, but one that elevates, frees, and transforms. In Stoic philosophy, emotional resilience is seen as one of the most important virtues one can cultivate, particularly in the realm of love and relationships. The Stoics teach that we are not to be ruled by our emotions, but instead we must develop the capacity to respond to life's challenges, including emotional turmoil, with wisdom and rationality. This idea becomes especially relevant when considering the nature of love. Love, by its very nature, often brings with it intense emotions, from the joy and bliss of mutual affection to the sorrow and heartache that can accompany loss or conflict. However, the Stoic approach to love does not advocate for suppressing emotions or rejecting love altogether. Rather, it calls for a more measured, resilient approach to emotional experiences, one that allows us to engage deeply in love while maintaining our inner peace. Emotional resilience in love means the ability to endure both the highs and lows of the relationship with equanimity. It involves being present in the relationship, experiencing joy and connection without becoming overwhelmed by it, but also facing the inevitable challenges or periods of conflict with the same level of calm and strength. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control the actions of others or the external circumstances of life, we can control how we respond to these circumstances. In the context of love, this means we are responsible for maintaining our own emotional balance, regardless of the circumstances in the relationship. We must choose to respond to our emotions with mindfulness and wisdom, ensuring that our reactions are aligned with virtue, rather than being driven by impulsive passions or external pressures. When it comes to love, the Stoic does not expect emotional experiences to be entirely free from pain or hardship. On the contrary, Stoicism accepts that suffering is an inherent part of life. Loss, disappointment, and even the dissolution of a relationship are all experiences that fall within the natural course of existence. However, what the Stoics emphasize is that while we cannot avoid suffering, we can control how we handle it. Emotional resilience, in this sense, is not about avoiding difficult emotions, but about responding to them in a way that preserves our peace of mind and our sense of self. If we face challenges in love, whether they arise from misunderstandings, differences in values, or the inevitable passage of time, we are encouraged to remain steadfast and focused on the things we can control, our attitudes, actions, and reactions. This emotional resilience is deeply tied to the Stoic practice of self-reflection. The Stoic seeks to understand their own emotional responses and to examine them critically, asking whether they are grounded in reason or driven by irrational fears, desires, or attachments. In love, emotional resilience involves cultivating a sense of detachment from the intensity of emotions, while still engaging in the relationship wholeheartedly. It is about learning to respond to both love and conflict with an inner calm, not because we are indifferent, but because we understand that the only things within our true control are our own thoughts and actions. We do not let ourselves be overwhelmed by the joy of love or the pain of loss, but approach both with a balanced and rational mindset. Another aspect of emotional resilience in love is the ability to practice forgiveness. As humans, we are bound to make mistakes and hurt the people we love at times, whether through thoughtless actions or words. The Stoics teach us to practice forgiveness not only because it is a virtue, but because holding on to resentment or anger disrupts our peace of mind. In a relationship, Emotional resilience means being able to let go of grudges and to approach disagreements with a sense of understanding and compassion, recognizing that both partners are fallible and that growth often comes through overcoming challenges together. In this sense, emotional resilience allows love to endure and grow stronger because it is based on the ability to move past difficulties and to focus on the greater good of the relationship and mutual development. Furthermore, emotional resilience in love entails accepting that love is not always perfect. Stoicism teaches that the ideal is to live in harmony with nature, and part of that nature is the inevitability of change. Love will ebb and flow, and relationships will go through periods of closeness and distance, happiness and hardship. The Stoic does not expect relationships to remain static or free from challenges, but instead approaches them with the understanding that they are part of the natural cycle of life. This perspective frees us from the unrealistic expectations that often lead to disappointment or disillusionment in love. Instead of holding on to an idealized version of love, the Stoic embraces the reality of love's fluctuations and finds peace in the acceptance of these inevitable changes. In sum, emotional resilience in love, from a Stoic perspective, is about developing the capacity to navigate the complexities of human relationships with wisdom and composure. It is about remaining grounded in virtue, no matter the emotional turbulence that may arise, and understanding that our emotional responses are a choice. By cultivating emotional resilience, we can experience love fully and deeply without being overwhelmed by it, and we can face the challenges and changes that come with relationships with strength and grace. This resilience is not just a personal quality, but a cornerstone of love itself, allowing both individuals to grow together, support one another, and ultimately live a life guided by reason, virtue, and emotional strength. The Stoic approach to love encourages us to cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for the people we share our lives with, appreciating them for who they are rather than for what they provide us. This gratitude is rooted in the understanding that love is not a means of acquiring or gaining something, but a recognition of the inherent value of another person. Stoicism teaches that our happiness should not be dependent on external factors, and love, in its purest form, becomes a reflection of our own inner strength and virtue. When we approach love with gratitude, we are reminded that the other person is not here to fulfill our needs or desires, but to walk alongside us on our journey toward greater wisdom, virtue, and understanding. Gratitude in Stoic love is not about idealizing or romanticizing the other person. It is not about looking at them through rose-colored glasses, expecting them to be perfect or flawless. Rather, it is about appreciating them for who they are in their entirety, their strengths, their imperfections, their growth, and their struggles. Each person we love is a unique individual, shaped by their own experiences, challenges, and choices. In Stoicism, gratitude is the practice of accepting them as they are, not as we wish them to be, and acknowledging the value they bring into our lives simply by being present and authentic. This form of gratitude also shifts our perspective on love from a feeling or an expectation to an active practice. It is not enough to simply feel grateful for someone. We must also express that gratitude through our actions, words, and attitudes. In relationships, this means treating the other person with respect, kindness, and care, not because we are trying to gain something from them, but because we recognize their intrinsic value. By acting with gratitude, we honor the relationship itself, understanding that love is not a transaction, but a shared experience that both partners contribute to equally. Gratitude becomes a lens through which we view our relationships, allowing us to focus on the positive and embrace the inherent value of what we have together. Moreover, gratitude in love involves the ability to accept the impermanence of the relationship and the reality of change. Since nothing is permanent, Stoics remind us that we should not cling to relationships as though they will last forever. Instead, we should be grateful for the time we have together and cherish the moments we share. This attitude allows us to fully embrace each phase of the relationship, whether it is one of closeness or distance, joy or difficulty, without feeling entitled to anything more. When we approach love with this sense of gratitude, we become less concerned with what we may lose and more focused on appreciating the present moment. We cherish the opportunity to share our lives with another person, knowing that each experience, no matter how fleeting, contributes to our personal growth and understanding. Gratitude also encourages us to focus on the qualities in our partner that inspire us to become better individuals. In Stoic philosophy, the highest purpose of life is to live virtuously, and relationships offer an opportunity to practice and develop virtues such as patience, empathy, generosity, and self-control. By being grateful for the ways in which our partner challenges and supports us, we become more aware of our own growth and progress. We see love not as a way to fulfill our own needs or desires, but as a means of becoming the best versions of ourselves through the reflection and growth that comes from interacting with another person. In relationships, gratitude helps us to navigate challenges with grace. Conflict is an inevitable part of any close relationship, but when we approach it with gratitude, we shift our focus from blame and resentment to understanding and resolution. We can view difficulties not as threats to the relationship, but as opportunities for learning and growth. Each challenge we face together strengthens the bond between us and deepens our understanding of one another. Gratitude, therefore, enables us to maintain a sense of peace and perspective, even in the midst of conflict, reminding us that the relationship itself is a source of strength and growth, rather than a source of stress or dissatisfaction. Ultimately, gratitude in love transforms the way we experience relationships. It moves us away from a mindset of entitlement or expectation and encourages us to approach love as a practice of appreciation and mutual growth. It allows us to see the value in each moment shared with our partner, to accept them as they are, and to support them in their journey toward greater wisdom and virtue. By cultivating gratitude, we not only deepen our love for others, but we also enrich our own lives, fostering a sense of peace, fulfillment, and contentment that comes from living in alignment with Stoic principles of virtue, wisdom, and understanding. Through gratitude, love becomes a path to personal and mutual flourishing, a source of strength, and a continual opportunity to grow in virtue and wisdom together. In conclusion, the Stoic philosophy offers a profound and enriching perspective on love, one that transcends fleeting emotions and superficial attachments. It teaches us to approach love with wisdom, understanding, and emotional resilience, acknowledging that true love is not about possession or dependency, but about mutual growth, respect, and virtue. By embracing the impermanence of life and relationships, we can cherish each moment we share with another without clinging to unrealistic expectations or fears of loss. Through emotional resilience, we learn to navigate both the joys and challenges of love with equanimity, fostering deeper connections and personal strength. Gratitude, in turn, allows us to appreciate our partner for who they truly are, while recognizing that love, in its most stoic form, is a shared journey of growth and self-improvement. When we love as the Stoics would advise, we embrace both our own individuality and the interdependence that allows us to grow together with another person. Love, in this sense, becomes not only a source of joy but a platform for virtue, where both partners strive to live better, more fulfilled lives in alignment with wisdom and reason. In his arms, she finds not just comfort, but a space to grow and reach toward the sky, the boundless potential of the human spirit. It is this kind of love, grounded in Stoic principles, that allows both individuals to live fully, free from fear, and with a heart open to all that life has to offer. Through the Stoic lens, love is not only a means of personal fulfillment, but a path toward wisdom, peace, and the flourishing of both individuals.